What's up guys, Ryan O'Connor here from Iron Oath Fitness, and today what I want to tackle is one of the most common questions I get from my clients and my friends. It's potentially a rite of passage for muscle growth, and it's a universal truth of lifting. What we're talking about is muscle soreness. Is it necessary to grow muscle? Should you lift when you're sore? How sore is too sore? And of course, why do our legs always seem to get the most sore compared to our upper body? We're going to talk about all those things right now. All right, so first things first. What in the world causes soreness, right? We've all been there, we've been to the gym, we've done damage. And then you tell your friends about it and you wake up the next morning and you pretty much hate your life depending on how sore you are, right? Or if you're like me and maybe you're a little sick and twisted, you love your life because you're that sore, right? So whatever crowd you're in, we're gonna talk about what actually causes soreness because there's a lot of research back in the day that we can debunk right now. A lot of people think lactic acid is building up constantly and then you need to like somehow drain it and get rid of it completely because that's what's causing your soreness. So there used to be people that would, if you like lifted legs really hard at the end of a workout, and I've worked out with these people and I always thought it was ridiculous, but they put their legs up against the wall to drain the lactic acid, right? I can tell you right now, the lactic acid is building up during short, intense workouts, right? Weightlifting, sprinting, any type of high intensity interval training, you are building up lactic acid. And to not get too nerdy, even though I wish I could, but it'd be a long video. Basically what's happening is when you're not using oxygen for those, so for like quick and high intensity movements, you can't use oxygen. So then it's an anaerobic process. And by doing that, you're creating metabolites and then lactic acid is technically formed. And that's that local burn you feel like at the end of a set. But that basically goes away and is completely flushed from your system after the workout. So that's not causing the muscle soreness, especially the delayed onset muscle soreness, right? That's 2 to 3 days after you work out. That's actually caused by micro tears and local inflammation at the muscle. And that should almost just be obvious because when you lift your quads, you're not sore in your biceps, right? It's local to whatever muscle you're creating that damage. But what we need to talk about is that usually, almost always, concentric movements, which I'll show you here in a second with the tricep extension, is not going to cause nearly as much damage as eccentric controlled movements. So that's why lifting weights, especially bodybuilding stuff, when you are controlling the weight like you should, right? And you're doing the right range of motion, really getting that stretch, that's what's causing that damage. That's going to lead to more soreness, which in general is a good thing. And we'll talk about next, after I show you the movement, does soreness equal muscle growth, or can you still grow muscle without being sore? So let's go look at the tricep extension and this will all become a lot more clear. All right, so let's both figure out together why you get so sore when you do certain movements and when you do other movements, maybe you're not sore at all, right? So we're gonna have to talk about concentric versus eccentric. And basically what it is on the tricep extension, as I'm shortening the muscle, which would be this, right? Full extension, that is a concentric contraction. But as I'm going back and slowly controlling it, like you should be, right? That's gonna be eccentric contraction. So concentric is shortening, eccentric is the lengthening portion. And the reason why eccentric gets you a lot more sore is because, and if I find something cool and it's pretty easy to understand, for the physiology, I'll put it up right now, but basically, when you're going slow and controlled, after your muscle is completely shortened, there's these little heads that are grabbing onto your contractile units. And as you're doing an eccentric control, it's like you're stretching them all the way out completely and then they release. And then they grab the next one and you're going, so you're just doing a lot more damage, a lot more micro tears. That's causing that local inflammation, which gives you the pump, which is beautiful, right? That's what we're after. But that's why something like, you know, a well-done tricep extension, because if I was just to do it like this and let go, even if I did this part really slow, the concentric, it's not going to cause damage. It's all about that last part. So if you just see people doing reps like that, which is common, right? Or for example, like an Olympic lift where you're doing it as explosive as possible, or a lot of strength training stuff, right? Deadlift, squat, bench. If you're not controlling that eccentric, you're just not going to get as sore. So that's why for bodybuilding or like specifically hypertrophy, you are going to be getting a lot more soreness. But is that soreness necessary for muscle growth? If you're not sore after a workout, was it not a good enough workout? Let's talk about that right now. All right, so now we understand what causes muscle soreness, right? And if you're like me, then you're now trying to get more muscle soreness, which is by doing eccentric control. we need to understand, is that soreness that you feel necessary for muscle growth? When you get sore, are you growing more muscle than when you don't get sore? The answer is no. It really doesn't matter, because I don't get nearly as sore as I used to when I first started working out, or if I take any appreciable amount of break for whatever reason, even a break from movements, right? So novel stimulus or novel movements are gonna create more soreness than movements you've been doing your whole life or for the last however many years. So soreness does not cause muscle growth. It is kind of a sign that maybe a certain workout or a certain movement has a better mind-muscle connection. A better mind-muscle connection can be a predictor for more muscle growth, but I would guarantee that you could do any movement, and if you do it the right way with eccentric control, right, especially 2 to 3 seconds of that control, you're gonna get sore. But if you keep doing that over time, your muscles are gonna learn that, your body's gonna get used to it, you're not gonna be sore, but I guarantee it's still building new muscle. So I think what I want you to do here is to kind of think outside the box. Don't always equate soreness equals muscle growth. I want you to think, okay, let's say I hit chest on Monday. If by the next chest day on Wednesday, you're still ridiculously sore, then maybe you're doing too much volume, right? These are kind of the ways I want you to think about soreness. Or maybe you didn't get sore at all. You maybe should try to do a little bit more volume to get sore where you're going into Wednesday for your next chest day, and you're recovered enough where you're not, your range of motion isn't restricted or anything like that. And then I know I talked about it in the intro, but why do our legs always get more sore? Or at least why does it feel like that, right? And all of a sudden you can't even walk up your stairs. Yeah, I feel you. I have like 4 flights of stairs in my house. I call it the Stairmaster on my Wi-Fi, right? That's my Wi-Fi name. So now I guess you'll know if you live close enough by if my little thing pops up in your Wi-Fi, but that's a little creepy. Doesn't matter. Why do the legs get most sore? I think a couple reasons. One, the most obvious, if this is you, you know it, right? Let's just be honest with ourselves. You're skipping leg day. If you skip leg day, and then say it's even 3 to 4 days, maybe 5 days, and then you go and hit legs again, they're gonna get super sore. And I feel like that's what happens to most people. But also with your legs, there's a lot more muscle mass, right? Usually you're doing more volume for your legs as well. That's just kind of how it works because they're so much bigger. There's a lot more machines you can do. There's just more room to create damage. So I think that's more of that should be the right answer. If your answer of why they're getting sore is because you're skipping leg day, nah, we gotta stop that, right? We do not want chicken legs. We only want chicken legs to eat, we don't wanna look like that, right? Doesn't matter guy or girl, same vibe. We wanna be, proportional, right? And legs are very important, especially as we get older, but that's like a whole different thing. So we're not gonna talk about that right now. But the last thing we are gonna talk about is, should you lift when you're sore? And in my opinion, the answer is yes. There's 3 things I will talk about in a second that you should probably not lift if you're this sore, right? But in general, if your legs are sore, you could lift upper body and vice versa, right? Or even if your upper body is sore and it's another upper body day, say your chest and your shoulders are sore, you can still do back, right? It's not gonna, because I think some people are scared of getting injured, right? If you're that sore, it hurts that bad. Usually for me, when I get a good warm up in, the soreness kind of goes away, or at least you forget about it, right? And your body's secreting nice endorphins, right? That makes us feel good when we work out, and natural painkillers. So you're not gonna feel it as much. But the 3 things that I would watch for where you should not lift anymore, or you shouldn't lift if you're this sore, is 1, you're severely restricted in your range of motion. So say you are lifting the same body part you're sore in, say it's your chest. If you can't even bring the bar down all the way to your chest without feeling intense soreness, right? Or even sometimes with your biceps or something that you're so sore you can't even do it without weight, that would probably be something where I would not go to the gym and lift that exact muscle, right? And then kind of in that same vein, if it's going to severely affect your performance. So let's say you're doing a concurrent training program where you're doing some hypertrophy workouts, but you're also maybe doing some CrossFit or Olympic weightlifting. If you torch your legs so good on Monday and then you have to do snatches, clean and jerks on Wednesday, but you can't get to full depth without some pretty crazy, soreness, then I would suggest you do not do those movements on Wednesday. Maybe push them until your legs are not so sore, and it kind of goes back to the range of motion thing, right? You don't want the soreness to affect your performance because that could lead to safety concerns, especially with lifts like Olympic lifting. But other than that, in my mind, you can always lift when you're sore, but just kind of use common sense with this, right? Because here at Iron Fitness, we are about that long game, right? So keep that in mind, and also keep that in mind when we talk about my next video, which is gonna be very similar to this, but it's should you lift when you're in pain? So not like the soreness pain, right? Like actually your joint pain, or maybe you think you have like some slight tendonitis. Any of these kind of pains, I've dealt with a lot of these. I've had clients, and I actually have a lot of friends that, you know, gave me expert opinions on this. They're physical therapists. So we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about the science of should you do it, should you not do it, all those kind of things. So be on the lookout for that. It'll be coming here soon. Until then, happy lifting. Okay, good enough.